Well, good afternoon, Actioneers. Welcome to our next Fireside Chat. Glad you can make it. Hopefully we'll have a few more folks joining with us, but let's go ahead and get started. As long as we're here, I want to again introduce to you Pam Breyer, our Executive Director.
Hello, everyone.
So
Thank you for being here.
Yep, she'll be joining us, and we have a very special guest that we're going to bring to you today, but we'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a few minutes. I did want to also welcome those of you who are part of our Self-Sufficiency Society. We're really glad that you are here with us. And for those of you who may not be aware, the Self-Sufficiency Society is a group of folks who have made a 5-year commitment to provide the Action Center with a gift of $1,000 per year. And so it's a wonderful group. It's really important because it helps us with our budgeting. It helps us with our forecasting of what programs and services, because we can count on your contribution year after year. So Self-Sufficiency is a wonderful group of folks who are very supportive of the Action Center. Really appreciate it. So I'm glad that you're here. If you're not aware or you're interested in more about the Self-Sufficiency Society, please reach out to our development department sometime, and we'd be happy to talk to you about that.
Absolutely.
So great. One last thing about some housekeeping. You should have in the bottom of your screen a chat function. And so throughout the presentation today, if you have a question or a comment, please write that into the chat. And at the end of our presentation, we'll have time to do some question and answer with Pam and our special guest. So, and you can also put in there any topics that you'd like to see us address in future Fireside Chats. So, all right. So enough with our housekeeping issues. Pam, I'd love to start with perhaps having you share with our audience. The Action Center has been in business here for over 50 years. Mm-hmm. Can you help us understand a little bit better what does that mean to our community here?
Well, John, I think the Action Center has just become such a central part of Jefferson County and certainly the Lakewood community in which we sit. It has just become that place where people know they can count on us to be here when they've hit a hard time, when they've hit a bump in the road. So folks in the community know about us, that we are going to meet whatever need is coming, whether it's the increased need around COVID or in regular times. We are the source of support they can go to when they've hit that bump in the road. Sometimes people are coming to us because they have a short-term crisis. Suddenly someone in their family has lost a job, or something has happened and there's been an illness, and suddenly they find themselves in need, and they know that the Action Center is going to be there for them. Because we have been consistently, as you said, for over 50 years. Yeah. And we always are very much tuned into what's happening in our community and where is the need changing and shifting, so that we can shift our focus and address that greater need. Right. COVID is a really great example of that.
Yeah, we'll hear a little bit more about that. But, I think being flexible and able to look at where the community needs are and be able to address those needs is just a real hallmark of the Action Center and really our commitment to this community.
Absolutely.
Which is wonderful. Well, good. Well, listen, I appreciate it. That's a great way to start, a great preamble. But let's get to our special guest, because I think you're going to be excited to hear what this individual has to say and what she has to share with us. Her name is Lori Wolowitz, and Lori Wolowitz is our Director of Programs and Services. Lori's been with us now for almost 4 years, and so she's really been dialed into what we're doing. Lori has her MSW as well as her LSW as well. So she's very qualified. She's been in the nonprofit circles for a long, long time. So she's very experienced and able to really help us to manage our programs and services. Lori's also she loves the outdoors. That's also important. She loves to hike. I think she likes to fish, but I think even more important, she's an avid golfer. I've heard that she's quite the golfer on the golf course. So hopefully somewhere down the road, she'll invite me and maybe teach me a couple things. That would be awesome. But I'm going to go ahead and go out and get Lori now and bring her in, and then Pam and Lori will have a dialogue. But again, thank you so much for being here. And again, if you're interested in Self-Sufficiency Society, please call Development Department, and we'd be happy to chat with you. So without further ado, let's go get Lori Wolowitz.
Well, welcome, Lori.
Thank you, Pam.
So good to have you here. I was just going to remind everyone that Lori is our director of programs, which means she can help me to answer any questions you might have about the choices we're making around program delivery right now, how we're changing our operations with COVID, what we've been seeing. So again, if you have questions that we don't seem to be getting to in our dialogue together, please put them in the chat and we will try to get to your questions during the program. So
Absolutely.
thank you again for being here, Lori.
Of course.
So Lori, I think some folks out there know during COVID times, we had to change a lot about our operations. We moved most of our operations outdoors or online and with telephones instead of the in-person relationships we were having with folks before. But maybe you could tell folks a little bit about what we're seeing in terms of need in the community and the kinds of numbers of folks that are coming through right now.
Absolutely, Pam. So we, as Pam said, we have started a drive-through for our grocery, and we have been pre-packing food as opposed to the self-selection that we used to do, but which allows us to see so many more people in a day. And we have had over 13,000 visits to the Action Center since March 16th. And we're seeing, and that's just for food, we're seeing our daily usage steadily increase. In June, our daily numbers, we were seeing an average of 110 households a day. July, we went up to 130. In August, we went up to 150 households a day. And so far in September, we're trending at about 180 households are coming to us daily to pick up food from us.
And I know some days have spiked up above, 220. So that's just an average.
Yes.
Some days we're seeing far greater numbers.
Yes.
So how's our team managing that growth?
They're doing great. We have wonderful volunteers who are helping us. We have a staff who have become very, very nimble at adapting to change on the fly so that we can get people in and out of here very quickly. The staff are just so thrilled to be able to help the community in this way.
Yeah.
Right. The need is so great right now. And the folks that are coming to us are so appreciative. And the staff are just thrilled to be able to provide this basic need for people.
That's amazing. The folks who are on this Zoom with us today know how important it is that the Action Center be able to meet that need, and many of them have contributed, which has made it possible for us to meet that need. I think that's important for us to share with folks that while it has been hard and we've had to increase our expenditures for food, we've also been really fortunate to get a real outpouring from the community, and that is going to continue to be so important to us.
Oh, absolutely. We could not be doing what we're doing without the support of the community, and we so appreciate it. And people are they're struggling right now in ways that they haven't before.
Yeah.
They're unemployed when they've never been unemployed. Their kids are not going to school in school. Their kids are going to school at home. So they're adjusting to that. Their budgets are tighter. And so one of the things that I found with COVID is that there's more questions than answers.
Yeah.
And the Action Center can really provide that constant. So folks know that once a week they can come to us and they can get food from us. And it's good food, right? We're not giving away ramen noodles. We're giving away fresh fruit, fresh produce. We're giving away dairy products, milk and cheese and meats and breads and sweets and spaghetti and sauce and peanut butter and the shelf-stable stuff as well as the fresh foods. And people are able to save their food dollars by coming to us to put that money towards other basic needs that they have, so that they can stretch their dollars a little bit farther.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Yeah.
So another thing that folks might be wondering about, they know that the Action Center is here to prevent homelessness, also to serve folks who are experiencing homelessness. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about some of the services we've been providing. We always provide at the Action Center, but even in greater demand right now with COVID challenges.
Absolutely. I think that the best example of that is our rent assistance program. We in the past have had rent assistance to the tune of about $80,000 to $120,000 in a year for rent assistance. Since March, Pam and everyone else, we have given away over $500,000 in rent assistance to
Wow.
help our community members stay housed.
Wow.
And that's a really important thing, right? We are really working hard to help people stay housed. We know that that is the key to stability, as you said earlier. And the need is great.
Yeah.
The need is definitely not going away. And fortunately, the funding community is also not going away, right? So we're able to provide that amount of rent assistance because we've had funders who have very generously either earmarked those dollars that way or donated those dollars to us. So we're so grateful to have the support of the community to be able to then get this money out for folks to help them pay their rent. People started coming to us with needing 1 or 2 months rent. Now we're seeing people come needing 6 months of rent.
Wow. So just like the food, you're just watching the numbers go up in that area as well.
We are.
And that's quite a big difference between, you know, a typical year being $80,000 to $100,000 of rent assistance, and just in this past 6 months, over $500,000 of rent assistance.
Yes.
How is the team managing that kind of increase in demand? Is it because we're, you know, focused more just intensely on rent and food right now that we're able to allocate more of our staff resources there?
Yes, we are. And because we're not having people come into our building, all of our rent assistance is happening through email, through telephone conversations. And by not having people come in, while we are not having the conversations that we used to have in our building, we're having the conversations with them in their cars, we're having the conversations with them on the phone.
Yeah.
And we're able to be a little more efficient in that way. And people, we have taken people off of other responsibilities, and everyone is focused on rent. So we've had to change responsibilities, and that goes to the flexibility of the staff of really concentrating where the need is the most.
Yeah.
And we have recently reopened our clothing bank as well to provide that need for folks to come. But again, with the help of our volunteers, we're able to keep our staff focused on the two most important things right now, which is food and housing.
Right.
Stability.
And I think we also have some grants that support some of the other emergency needs that people are facing. Maybe just briefly touch on what some of those kinds of services are.
Sure. We have a bill pay program, and we're finding people are coming to us for help with their water bill and help with their car payment, or help with their internet.
Yeah.
And especially with kids doing school from home or people working from home, internet is really important right now for everybody.
Absolutely.
So we are fortunate to have these funding sources that we can help with those other bills that ordinarily folks can meet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Really great, amazing work that your team is doing. And we just are so grateful again to all our donors that have made it possible for our team to step up and meet that increased need. What do you think, I know this is hard to answer and all of us sort of wish we had a crystal ball, but what do you think we're looking at in terms of the future here at the Action Center, just around increased need? Do we think that this is going to be going on for a while, or we're going to have our operations continue to be outdoors all winter? What's it looking like in your world?
That is the $17 million question, right?
Yeah.
We think that we're in this for the long haul.
Yeah.
We think that the crisis that people are in is going to take a long time to rebound from. Yeah. And we don't know when we will be able to move everybody back inside. We are really looking right now at how we can keep people as warm and as safe outside throughout the winter as we can, and know that we can continue serving people. We think that the need for food, the need for rent will just continue to rise over time. But we also know that we know that, so we're planning for that.
Yeah.
Right? We're here, we're preparing now for long-term support for people, which is no different than anything we've ever done before.
Yeah.
Right? COVID has not changed the support that we're giving to people.
Mm-hmm.
What it has done is it's just increased the necessity. It's also brought a lot of brand new people to the Action Center.
Right.
We've seen about a 30% increase of new people coming to us who have never had to access us before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a message that we want to put out there also, that it's okay to ask for help.
Right.
right? And we're here, and we're not going anywhere, and we're preparing for this, for the crisis that people are in to be lasting for a while, and that's why we're here.
That reminds me, Lori, of, you know, a day when I was out on the front lines with you all, kind of helping to load cars. And, you know, one of the cars that drove through, I remember having a conversation with the woman who was driving, and she had tears in her eyes, and she was, you know, saying to me, I'm so sorry that I have to be here. I'm sure there are others who need it more than I do. And that seems to be something that we hear pretty often, that people are feeling apologetic because this is the first time in their lives, for many of them, that their lives have been so disrupted and that they found themselves in a position they never expected to be in. And that is such an important message, and we want to ask all of you to help us to spread it. That's why the Action Center is here, and all kinds of people are in really challenging situations right now for all kinds of reasons, and that's why we're here. And please, it's fine to come, and we are grateful that we're able to step up to the need. I think one of the other challenges about trying to predict the future right now is that there are a lot of like special sources of funding right now with CARES Act dollars that are coming into the county. And so we have been able to meet the increased demand around food and meet the increased demand around rent assistance, but we really actually don't know how long those dollars are going to continue, do we?
No, we don't.
And so that makes our world even more uncertain, that we know the need is going to continue for a very long time, but we don't know necessarily how long those extra sources of funding will continue from the government. And so our individual donors become so important over the long haul, and our neighbors, you know, in businesses, local businesses that are attuned to what's happening in the community are so important to us in the long haul, as we face a lot of uncertainty and our neighbors face a lot of uncertainty in terms of getting back to normal. So really, really challenging times all around.
Really challenging times, but also times where we're really seeing people come together as well. And we're seeing people supporting the Action Center in ways that we have seen in the past, but we're even more of it. And we are so appreciative of every donation that we get, whether it's of somebody's time or of some dollars or bringing some food to us, whatever it is just so very appreciated by all of us and all of those that are benefiting from it. So
absolutely. Well, thank you. I think we might have some questions from those that are watching, so we'll see what we've gotten from all of you and try to be responsive. Thank you so much for writing in. So one person has written in and asked, Lori, what's the biggest challenge we're facing at the Action Center right now?
Oh, wow. The biggest challenge we're facing at the Action Center right now, honestly, I think is uncertainty.
Uncertainty.
That's
true.
I think that's the challenge that everybody is facing. Another challenge that we're facing is there's a lot of people who do not have the ability to with rent assistance. We have a lot of people that do not fit into the criteria of the grant.
Okay.
And so we are challenged when people don't fit the criteria of the grant to be able to help them with rent assistance.
Okay.
And we have had funding that was just from individuals that was not tied to a grant, that we could provide for rent assistance, which has really been incredibly helpful to us and helpful to those community members.
So some individual donors in the community have heard that some of our grants have really tight stipulations, and so they've given us funds without any stipulations so that we can meet people's needs as needed if they're not fitting into another criteria. So not lots of need there, and it's really hard for our staff to have to say to someone, you know, we see how much need you really have, but unfortunately you don't fit. So that's a big help to people. Thank you. So Rick and Wendy asked, are there volunteer opportunities, and who will be able to work from home? Oh, I think what they're asking is, are there volunteer opportunities for people who want to help from home, from the safety of their home?
Oh,
And Rick and Wendy, I hope I got your question right. Let us know if I did not.
So right now, all of our volunteer opportunities are happening in the building, but there could be volunteer opportunities for people to work at home. We don't have any right now. I think that that's a great thing for me to talk to our volunteer manager about and see what we can do. And I encourage you to check our website where we have volunteer opportunities and to look on our Sign Up Genius that shows where those volunteer opportunities are. And as they become developed, that's the best place to look and find them. So if that helps Rick and Wendy, we can reach out in more detail at another time.
I do think we have some volunteers who are working with us in the past as advocates,
yes,
who are now transferring that work to be more from at home on their phones. Is that right, Laura?
That is right, but yes, and those are long time those are not right now. The volunteer opportunities we have for people are for people who are veteran volunteers with us. They're not for new volunteers.
They don't need new training.
Right, exactly.
So those folks already have been doing that work for a while. They've
yes.
just now switched to doing it by phone.
Correct.
So we haven't yet come up with new opportunities that we could do from phones at home. So John asks, what do we need more of right now? Do we need more help with rent? Do we need more help with money for utilities? Where's the greatest need?
I think yes.
Yeah.
I think, I don't mean to not answer, John, but I think yes, and yes. We need all of those things. The funding that we have for rent assistance, for utility assistance is all finite, and the need feels infinite right now.
And sometimes, just so that we know that we'll be able to address the greatest needs, it can be really helpful to the Action Center to get just sort of a general operating gift so that whatever the greatest need is at that moment, we can funnel the money to that purpose.
Yes.
So whether it's food, rent, utilities, we have all of those needs, and the funding sources, as I said before, they go up and down depending on the timing of the grants. And so flexibility is really the greatest help to us.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And our food supply is up and down as well, right? We have many different resources for food, and that changes sometimes weekly. So as Pam said, the more flexibility we have with financial donations, we can put it towards our greatest need at the time, because those needs are changing.
So someone asked, and we sort of touched on this a little bit, Lori, what are the requirements to receive rent assistance? Can you give some examples of what some of those barriers might be for people?
Absolutely. So the requirements vary by grant. But what is consistent per grant is that the hardship that somebody is facing has to be COVID related.
Yeah.
Because of the way the funding is coming in. The folks have to have a lease. And all of the adults in the household, their name has to be on that lease. Folks have to provide income statements that prove their need. Mm-hmm. So when people come to the Action Center for food, nobody has to prove anything. If you're here, we give you food. With rent assistance, you need to show us your income or your lack of income to be able to do that. Yeah. There also, you have to sign an affidavit of citizenship for many of our grants. And you have to have, and the really important thing is your landlord has to accept payment from us.
Okay.
So when we're working on rent assistance, we're working with both the landlord and the renter.
Yeah.
And it's a three-way partnership.
Okay. Wow. So the citizenship question is a big one for so many of the folks in our community.
It is.
It's a really big barrier. So having some flexibility to be able to meet the needs of that very vulnerable population, I can imagine, is just so important.
It's very important, yes.
So thank you for those questions.
Yes.
That was great. We have one more question here asking to explain the relationships with Food Bank of the Rockies and the Action Center. Is all the food coming from FBR, or are there other sources? I can begin to answer that, and then you can chime in as well. So, so the Action Center has a fantastic partnership with Food Bank of the Rockies that we've had for quite some time. And the partnership has really intensified, I would say, during COVID. So during typical times, we rely on Food Bank of the Rockies for some of our commodity foods, some of our non-perishable items. And right now, we've also been in partnership with Food Bank of the Rockies getting produce boxes that are coming from the FDA. So they've really helped us to increase our ability to meet the growing need right now. But FBR is not our only source of food. We also have a food rescue program, and that is in partnership with FBR, but independently we send trucks out to groceries and take food that they would have to be putting in dumpsters and bring that food to the Action Center. So it's Food Bank of the Rockies is connected to that work, but those are independent groceries that we're collecting the food from ourselves. So some food comes from Food Bank of the Rockies and some comes from those grocery store relationships. And still during COVID, we've also had to use additional funds we've raised to buy additional groceries. Much of those purchased items are coming from Food Bank of the Rockies because they get such good discounts on food because they're buying in such high quantities, or they're getting donations in such high quantities. So we're able to stretch our dollars with that relationship. So Food Bank of the Rockies partnership is essential in all we do with food rescue.
Absolutely. I have nothing to add to that. That was great.
Okay, I think I got through all of the questions here. I'm just trying to make sure. Looks like it. Tani, do you have any others for us? I think we are, looks like we're all good. How are we doing on time? Just a little bit more time. So I just want to wrap up and say thank you all for being here, and thank you again to our self-sufficiency donors, who many of you are on the call today. Some of you have been self-sufficiency donors in the past and are considering being self-sufficiency donors. Again, there are lots of ways to give to the Action Center. This is one really important and helpful way, as John mentioned. It helps us know that these dollars are coming month after month and we can rely on them. Such an important source of revenue for us, and we are so grateful to you. Lori and I can sit here for a little while longer. We want to keep to the time we promised, or some of you will have to hop off. But if you're able to stay with us and you have further questions, we are happy to sit and answer more questions. So thank you again for being here, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this fireside chat. We enjoyed being with you and answering your questions. And please, if you have further questions for John or the development team, please contact John at johnc@theactioncenter.org. He will be more than happy to answer any additional questions you have about self-sufficiency or other needs that we're facing right now. Thank you so much.
And thank you all very much. It was a pleasure to be here, Pam.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.